minus 1 minute. T minus 50 seconds. T minus 40 seconds. T minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Fuck you, Westport!
What is up, everybody? Thank you for joining us again on another Saturday afternoon. Hopefully you guys are safe and warm inside. I've got an awesome guest today, guys. I'm very excited. This is a relationship that formed years ago, and we've communicated many times, but this is actually our first sit-down conversation. So, Dennis, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Chad, and it feels great to be here.
Yeah, dude, thank you for making the time to be here. And just so people understand kind of the backstory, maybe people who have been watching this channel for a while, they may know, but I think it was about 4 years ago that I really started going on a water-only mission for soil. I wanted to find what was best, what advertised as water only but didn't work or did work. So I collected a bunch of different soils, and again, my mission is to make growing easier for people. And I honestly think that if we could get people started in soil, usually a good amended soil has a lot of organic ingredients in it. But if we take the need for proper nutrition out of the hands of a first-time grower and give them everything they need, I think that's a huge benefit. So long story short, this crazy guy over on the East Coast spent a couple $100 to send me some soil, and it turned out to be fantastic, dude. I was very happy. So just so you guys know, he's not crazy. He's a very smart person, and that's why I'm stoked to have him today. But how did that come about? Where did the soil company start? And first of all, please, what is the name of your soil company? And tell people all about that.
My soil company originally was called Appalachian Supply. It's called APSU Soil now. So it came out of a necessity, right? At the time, there wasn't really living organic soil available. If you could get it, it was very expensive to get. And so it wasn't really attainable. And I was already growing. And so I was buying my soil manufactured already, and they would deliver it to me, and I was paying a lot of money. And so I got onto the Weed Enthusiast Forum a few years ago, and I connected with a few people, and I got a basic living soil recipe, just like everybody else, right? Just like your coot mix. It was a basic mix. So I started there. That was my ground zero. And so we were already growing organic, but we were doing a lot of top dresses, and we were using base mixes that weren't really great. And when I switched to this living soil, I realized that this soil kind of stores it and gives it and stores it and gives it as needed. And it kind of like opened my eye that I could probably give this to a beginner and they would be able to just do it. And so that's where it was. I was at a production farm in Calaveras County, in West Point, and we were growing a lot of weed, and we needed help. And entry level help is unskilled, and so we needed a system that would work repetitively. And so that's what we decided to do, is just all living soil. So I eventually became the manager of that farm, and I got to implement that, and we burnt down, and part of the insurance settlement went to me, and I had a decision to make. I said, do I stay in California? And at the time they had just got rid of Prop 215 and things were going weird. And so the government, the state and local government was not really helpful. And so, a lot of the work we ended up working on ended up being in DC. And so it was a shoo-in because I'm already from DC. So I end up moving back home, and because I'm the guy from California, I start grow there instead of shipping it and getting caught and going to jail for it. And so we started growing in DC, and it's a very gray area, just like Prop 215 was. And so we start growing, and we get some warehouses down, and we're doing the pop-ups and stuff like that, and things are going good. And then so I'm selling soil to them. And I'm selling them supplies. So I'm buying supplies in bulk at this time. And because there was no real grocery stores, I'm now buying supplies in bulk for everybody. And so I basically was distributing these, lights and grow room builds, electric work, all of that stuff. I would do the full build outs. And that's where Appalachian Supply started. I would give them the recipe for the soil. I had been growing the whole time, right? Continuously modifying and tweaking the soil recipe. And the whole idea of this was to get it closer to nature. What you would find in, my auto
handy camera feature.
Go back, but I guess we're going to be here for a little bit. So, right. So anyways, so the whole concept was to, how do we go from kind of living soil to completely indigenous? Because when I was deployed in the military, I was able to see natural hash farms in Afghanistan, and I was able to see some of these plants in the wild. And through my travels, it's always been very interesting to me. So I've always been seeking out cannabis, like indigenous cannabis, at least rewilded cannabis. Even if it is a hybrid, it's been rewilded. And so I see them growing, and I find that most of these hybrids, or most of the genetics that are going into these hybrids we use today, they're coming from a boggy, swampy area. Truth be told, they're not really in the rocky, sandy stuff like we're thinking. They're really they love having a high EC environment, a high organic environment. And so with that discovery, I tried to make my soil more like that. And so it's just been a continuous mission to just grow and just be involved and try to help people around me. And it just naturally evolved into a soil company. Originally, I just started making it commercially, and then I sent you a bag just to see how it would do against other people. I wanted to see how it stacked up because I was curious, and you were doing the test, and we found out, and it was pretty cool. And that made me decide to go retail. So I got a few phone calls after our video, and I ended up in a retail store. And the rest is history. We're now the biggest soil company in Virginia, which is super cool. Yeah. And now we got 8 different blends, and we have this whole biome inspired thing.
That is so cool. Like, now I hear an echo. It's so weird how you can test audio before a show, and then now it's gone. But okay, it went away. It's kind of a funny story to backtrack here too. The video is still up on my channel. It's a water only soil challenge, and a little like fun fact for people: the Kool-Aid Man that I use, in no joke, that seed was popped in the APSU soil. My selection for the receiver of this line came from that soil. So it definitely brought out a very good expression. It gave me a good representation of that plant's potential, to the point to where I was like, Oh, you're special. Like
That's the
you're sticking around.
Mhm. And having a soil that is already pre-fed and is basically a buffet where the plant can choose to eat and at its own rate. And the variation in genetics, some plants can grow large, right? And they're not hungry. And some plants don't grow large and they're very inefficient with their food. And it's really up to the person making the genetics to weed that out. And sometimes it doesn't. But if in that process, if you're using a regimen, you're only going to give it what you're giving it. And so even if you do top dresses and you do anything else other than a biome inspired soil, you're not actually going to reach the full potential across the board, across the whole spectrum of these plants. And so even in hydro grows where you're forced to be only hydro or a cocoa grower commercially or whatever, it's still very important to make your selections in a living soil so you know the actual potential and the goal you're going for. I find so many times where I'm consulting and they'll have all these big red hairs and their trikes really aren't developed and they're struggling, and it's really the genetics. Even it's really the fundamental of the genetics, and it's because they weren't able to select that out before they got it to the actual production facility. And I see that everywhere. I see that's one of the biggest struggles that some of these starting dispensaries and operations have, is finding good flavors. That's where they're spending the most amount of time and money. And so you want to be different. Well, you don't have to pop 1,000. You don't. You can do it in 12 or 14. I promise you. So you just got to hammer it down and select what you need. And so I think it's just a whole mindset shift which would benefit a lot of people.
It definitely would. And when it comes to hunting packs and searching packs, is we hear the big boys doing 1,000, 10,000 seed hunt, which would be great. But there's also some videos out there of people who, I've spent $400 on a pack and I didn't get jack from it, and those packs are overpriced. But so a breeder that you're happy with, or a breeder that keeps me happy, if I'm going through a 10-pack, there's something in that 10-pack that should impress me.
There should be 4 or 5 different varieties that should be interesting, and at least 3 worth keeping, in my opinion. Yeah. I think it should be that the world would benefit from having. I would put it that way. And if you're not doing that, then you need to take a step back and focus on your craft. Honestly, I understand the need to make ends meet, but like, you're an artist at this point, and you're kind of muddying the waters, and that's not helping anybody.
No, that's why in all these years, I've released maybe 5 things, because again, it has to be remarkable, in my opinion, to put my name behind it. There's a lot of good stuff out there, but I want something that's remarkable. I don't just want to be lost in the mix or just another one of those people. I want to stand out, and that's something that you do as well with your soil blends. And I want to talk a little bit more about that. I want to give away this pack of No Joke, though, since we brought it up. And since people are listening here, I always like to give away beans to get the community started, to get them growing.
Well, I'll match you with whoever. They'll get one of mine. They'll get a pack of mine too.
Oh, heck yeah. That's awesome. Dude, thank you. You guys just got a huge bonus again. So if you are in the US and you would like to play for a pack of the No Joke plus a special dealer's choice selection from Dennis, guys, go ahead and in the chat, go ahead and type the word. Oh, whoops. I forgot to hit enter on my other screen here. Let me hit enter. Okay, and then now I can come back and share the
I don't know how to make the camera zoom out.
Oh, right. Maybe if you walk away, like, does it back up? Does it go out? That's so weird. I don't know what the setting is on the camera. If you want to mess with it, you can. Otherwise, you're fine.
It'll be okay. It'll be good when I show you the soils. I have all the soils right here.
Oh, perfect. Well, let's do this pack here real quick, and then we can talk a little bit about the soil. A couple questions that have already come in, though, and maybe we'll do that while we've got this other screen up there big for people to add the APSU. If you're in the US and you'd like to play for a double bonus, pack of the No Joke plus a dealer's choice from Dennis. couple questions that have already come in, and guys, thank you for giving us your questions. I love that Dutch Grow typed question in front of it. I love that Haas Farms type question in front of it. That kind of helps me. Maybe we get to Dutch's question later when we're talking more about ingredients and stuff that goes into the soil.
Sure.
But one of the things that I already had written down, because it's a little bit different than maybe a cocoa blend or even just like a Fox Farm blend. I found it's a little different with nice organic soils. But Haas Farm says, question, what do you recommend for pH for the water-only soil? Is 6.0 to 6.3 the target range? Are you a little bit higher? Do you want it precise every time or maybe a little bit of variance? What do you kind of tell people when they ask you this question about the APSU soil?
Thank you for the question. Okay, this is an excellent question. So pH is something that's extremely misunderstood. So pH correlates directly with your electrical conductivity and your CEC. So the reason that we pH in synthetics is because we have nothing with that will exchange ions, and so we have to keep it accessible in the water by making sure the pH is perfect. Okay. Now, when you're dealing with soil, you shouldn't have to pH at all. Okay. If you end up, you should have completely neutral water, 7.2. That's what you should have, just like nature, just like coming from the clouds. All right. If you have your water at 6.5, 20% of your nutrition will not bond. All right. And it will wash out the bottom. So you'll be wasting 20% of every bottle, every top dress, everything that you do. If you drop it more, you're wasting more. Okay. So that's basically the long and short of it is you should be using 7.2. If you have to pH your tap water to keep things in balance, you don't have the correct soil for your plant. The base mix is incorrect and it's not ever going to be fixable. You have to change the composition. So that's the long and short of it.
Okay, because I know like your soil, like some other soils, it's great to be reused. You know, it can be amended, it can be used again. Do you over time see maybe that number drift higher because you're just putting in 7.2, fine for a few runs, but do you see that affecting it over time?
Another great question. Really great question. So a perfect soil will be completely matched with the growth rate of the plant, meaning that it will convert to biomass before it runs out of nutrients. If you have that is the goal of every soil manufacturer. That is the point. All right. So if you're making a soil for houseplants, it needs to feed about 2 to 3 years for the amount of time for that houseplant to fill up that pot. All right. If you're making a soil for cannabis, it needs to last 5-6 months of full growth. And by that time, it should be filling up the pot. If you did your watering correctly and you didn't have dry backs and you have no stalls at all, it should be converting to biomass. All right. If that's not the case, right, you're going to run out of certain things before you run out of other things. And so what you're going to do is you're going to top dress, but a lot of it in a good balanced soil, you can't overfeed certain things. Like you can lock certain things out, but it's not going to hurt to put like a little extra mineral in there, right? So lime is going to keep everything balanced, and compaction is going to be your biggest enemy if you're taking a long time to grow. So you know, cover crops will help convert things. You can do micro boosts. Those will help convert slower processing things. But a good soil should last a long time. It's just sometimes it gets depleted with the nitrogen and other things, which locks things out. And so if you can just reintroduce those things, and really, if you have a good soil, like I said, it should be converting to biomass, and a simple top dress of more of the same soil should be sufficient. I have something, and so this supercharge is what it's called, right? And so this right here is this 14 or 15 different ingredients, and they're the basic ingredients that you would need for high performance, high yielding crops. and they're at the exact ratio, so nothing's getting locked out. And so when you're using, when you're using other soils, that'll work fine. But like I said, like if the composition's not right, there's no cation exchange happening. Therefore, it's going to get drained out. And but when you use that with my soil, it will just recharge the soil. And so you can, with mother plants, you can use the same pot if you want for a very long years if you just top dress with that monthly. And that's what I do for my moms personally. And I don't do anything other than a half a cup of that a month.
Okay.
So
and what size do you recommend for people when it comes to like reusing it or the approach? And I ask this because, you know, I do this with the Westport blend. Is I have some containers I run in 2 gallons, some containers I run in 7 gallons. Obviously, the larger 7 gallons has a longer battery life, but I'm not, you know, chopping my plant, kind of getting the root ball out and then planting right back into it, especially with those 2 gallons. What I do is I have a trash, like a 20 something gallon trash can that I put all my soil into. Once it's collected to the top, I go outside, spread it out, and then do the amending.
That's perfect. That's exactly how you should do it. And that's how I do it. I take the root ball, I take it to one of those 27 gallon grain mode bins from Costco, and I just bang the root ball against the wall of the bin till all the dirt's gone. And then I'll, if I need to, if I feel like I need to, like it's a stale dirt that's been sitting for my mom's or something like that, then I'll supercharge it then and there. But generally I'll just replant right there in the soil. I don't top dress personally. I just use my soil.
Okay. And it's funny. I started laughing when you said banging root balls against the side because, whoops, wrong one. Sorry. Me. Look what I've been doing today. I have been banging root balls against the side of the containers earlier. That was what I was doing a little bit earlier. And I want to give a shout out to last week's guest, Brandon. He's actually from Kiss Organics, but I had dirt all under my nails. And I don't know if you've heard this one, but he told me this and I'm like, you're genius. But he's like, if you ever go to work in the soil, you know, in the dirt before, and you need to go somewhere afterwards, just take a bar of soap and scrape your fingernails over it because it builds a nice little dam. And then when you're done, you just wash your hands and the soap's already there. No dirt under your nails.
Oh, that's genius. Yeah.
I thought that was pretty brilliant.
Another independent organic soil company. There's not many independent soil companies.
No, there's not. And, you know, again, I like to get good products out to people, and I fully believe in your product. I used it. It worked well for me. And the success that you've had since speaks volumes to it. So, you know, I definitely encourage people to take a look, you know, especially people who are in the Virginia area or who are on the East Coast, because shipping gets expensive.
Oh, we're on Amazon nationwide. No worries.
Boom. Yeah. All right. There you go.
Nationwide shipping. You go to my website right now while it's possible, there's free shipping. You know, if UPS changes their rates and stuff, maybe I'll charge a little bit. But right now, order as much as you want. There's free shipping. You know,
that's awesome.
I don't care if I lose a little bit going to Alaska or something. It's okay.
Right. It evens out. I'll have to talk to you about that. Yeah, after the fact. I want to find out how the hell you do that. But we'll get to that later. Everybody, they're more interested in getting some beans right now. But yeah, I did want to mention, you know, people definitely can find that and pick that up. But let's do that real quick. Let's get this before we dive into more of it, because you held up your package there, and I want to ask more questions about that, particularly your ratios, your NPK. Those are numbers that new growers kind of look for. Everybody, as a new grower, you're trained for NPK. So let's give this away here real quick, and then we'll dive into that. Good luck, everybody. Again, if you are the winner, please just go ahead and reach out to me. My Instagram is down in the show notes. Better yet, my website, chadwestport.com, is down there. Go there, find my email. It's on the info page, guys. But Captain Spaldweed, congratulations.
Yeah, congrats. You're gonna get you're gonna get a pack of Gats and Cats, which is an NL5. It's Neville's NL5 crossed with Neville's Haze, and it's like 12th or 13th generation. It's pretty cool.
That sounds pretty fabulous. I definitely like the sound of that. Captain Spaldweed, again, congratulations, man. Just reach out and we will make sure those come your way. And let me take this off of the screen here. We'll do definitely. We got a couple more drawings coming up as we always do throughout the show. We've got some things from Mr. Spliff. Yeah, I like to.
I want to give more stuff away.
Oh, heck yeah, dude, that works for me.
I'm giving a t-shirt away. And then after that, the last thing, a bag of soil. A bag of soil. How about that?
That will blow some minds. Again, just a lot of times it's just getting things into people's hands, and then the proof is in the pudding. If you have good stuff, people will notice. And that's always what I said. It's like, you shouldn't. I don't know. Long story short, I worked for an audio company. We made one of the most expensive units for what it was. We made everything by hand. We sourced all our material. We never put it on sale. We had no problem selling them because the product spoke for itself. Our marketing budget was like zero. I ran their social media. So the marketing budget was zero, guys. Come on. So yeah, I'm excited to get that into people's hands. But let's go back to what you just held up. It was a little package, and I saw the NPK on there. So can you break down like what that is for, how people would use it?
All right.
And why? Yeah. Why did you get to 556?
NPK is more marketing than anything. I don't think it's really that important. Okay. It doesn't tell you the full picture, right? So what really matters is, how do I put this? So your parts per million don't matter either. And you have a certain ratio you need to hit for your cation exchange so you don't lock anything out. And that's the number one thing you need to lead with. So those proportions have to stay constant. All right. From there, you adjust your nitrogen or whatever you're trying. This is a general purpose, right? So general purposely. And the way I found this recipe is this is the actual recipe to the super. So this is reverse engineered, and so that's all it is, and so this is just generally everything. Like if you were just to take the base media and remove everything else, that's what's in here. And so you have to have things that are fast release, medium release, slow release. You have to have enough lime in there to keep it accessible. You have to have certain minerals, and the most important thing is you have a very limited amount of space, right? Oh, look, we did it.
Hey, there you go.
Limited amount of space. Okay, so think about like you can only put so much salt into it, all right, before you start locking up your soil, and that salt's going to replace those bonding spots for the ions. And so
because sorry to interrupt you here, I just wanted to point out to people like it's going to lock out because the EC, the CEC, the electrical conductivity, and the ions, the cations, they pull from each other. So that's how we can bind stuff up in the soil.
So let me explain this, and then we'll move back into that. Okay, so the way the plant eats, for I'm sure a lot of viewers know already, but there's going to be one or two that don't. So just bear with. Oh fuck. Okay. All right.
Full attention to you.
Yeah. So yes. So think about your growing media, or let's not call it that anymore because it separates the organic part of this. All right. Think about your dirt, okay, your soil as a magnet. All right. It's one big magnet. And your plant is another magnet, right? Ooh. And so one is going to have a negative charge and one's going to have a positive charge. And so that plant's going to send out a charge, right? And it's going to attract that microscopic ion through the root walls and convert it to biomass. That's the mouth of the plant. And so plants develop the size of that mouth according to where they evolved, right? And so all the plants in that biome have the same size appetite, mouth, I would say, not appetite, but they feed at the same rate. Oh, fuck. I got to stop talking with my hands. And so what happens is you'll find a correlation with if all of the plants in that area all have the same general requirements. And so with that in mind, you don't really need to figure out too much else other than how to recreate that soil, and everything else kind of falls into place naturally. In nature, these plants in cannabis, in the cannabis world, it's an exception because this is a very high performance, heavy feeding plant. It's like growing a giant pumpkin, gourds, things like that. Most plants on Earth, this is an outlier. Like most plants on Earth don't feed like this. Okay, and we'll bounce back to what everybody wants to hear about. But for a second, we just need to hear about plants for a second. And so in nature, a lot of these plants are facing like severe adversities, droughts, all types of problems. But because of the composition of their soil, that water's not going anywhere. It's like kind of glued in there. And that the amount of water is going to correlate with how much CEC you have. And so the more surface area you have, the higher your CEC is going to be, the bigger the mouth is going to be of the plant. So if you are force feeding a plant high CEC that's not supposed to have it, you're going to destroy it. It mean like it's the same as starving it. And so almost every single one of these recipes have compromises because of shipping and just cost and you know, even just cooking. Like a real living soil has to be cooked. It's a lot of labor. And so you're not ever going to get that unless you make it yourself. And so what I'm trying to introduce is what's called biome replication technology. That's what I filed a patent on that we talked about. And so when it's all said and done, I'm going to release it for the general public to be able to use, and I'll license it to other people. But it's our process at APSU of how we reverse engineer soils. From soil samples, we do slurry tests, we do all types of stuff. And, you know, at the end of it, we have gotten really good at reverse engineering soils. We're so good that we reverse engineered basically everybody. Like we have
did your homework.
We have DNC. I did Royal Gold, Dirtcraft, Build a Soil, Coast to Maine. I reverse engineered all the soils. We're good at it. And so once all our intellectual property is locked down, I have no problem sharing it. And I really think that in our studies, what's happened is in our side-by-side studies with living soil versus the APSU super soil, what's happened is in a 1.5 month period, 6-week period, a ghost pepper plant created 7 to 8 peppers in the standard soil mix. This is like a teen plant, not a completely mature plant, but just starting its peppering. And so, but the APSU super soil, it made 70 plus peppers in the same amount of time. And really and so we did another control where it's the same soil with just the supercharge. So the same soil with just the nutrients, not the base mix. All right. It did pretty close to what the regular soil did. All right. So the key is really the ratio of the base mix. It's not the nutrients in it. It's not the amount of money, the ppms. It's not any of that. And that's what I'm trying to express is like, these numbers are great, but they're not that important. You need to know the fundamentals. And so this is just a service. This is to make it easier for you and cheaper because I do it in bulk. But that's the whole gist of it is like you kind of just have to figure out what you need for your plant. The MPK thing is a general purpose thing for marketing. And I believe they're starting to, if you look at soil bags now, they don't even really include it anymore. So,
Well, I mean, at some point, you do have to be able to quantify maybe the
oh, for
level of nutrients in there, or the EC in there. Um, but it is about balance, like you're saying. You do need
Well,
things.
that number is not well, I guess what I'm saying is that MPK number doesn't actually quantify how much of everything there is. It's there's stuff. So I don't know how to describe this. It's multi-layered. So I don't want to say the wrong thing, but
Right.
if you add, that number is not telling the full story. So like you could have a 5 of one thing and a 5 of another thing, and they could perform two different ways. You know what I'm saying? So you have two different results, even though they're both, 0, 5, 0.
And that could be based off of other interactions within the soil, pH, microbes,
If
EC.
everything was the same, and then you just have the two different amendments. They're both 0, 5, 0, 5, but they're two different amendments. You add it to the same control, and they have two different release rates, two different everything, and so it's different. It's not necessarily a usable metric in my opinion, from my experience.
Do you do any sort of soil testing on the bags before they go out, or do you just personally test your soil after a few runs and see, hey, this is what we need? Or
yeah, we do in-house testing, and we send it out. So we don't do the batches, like every single batch, because nothing is really changing between them. All the sources and everything is identical. Everything is pretty much locally sourced, and nothing changes too much. So I stopped doing that because they all seem the same. But I do test every single new blend. It gets tested, it gets quantified, it gets graphed, everything, it gets adjusted. And so I get the full test, the parts per million, I get the full report of microbiology and all of that, and then I go from there and I compare it to I test the actual soil sample that we took, and the goal is to get them as close as possible.
Okay.
Yeah. And so yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, the patent that's filed has a full, and the monograph that I'm going to post. So everything we talk about, and there's going to be some PDFs, is going to go to apsusoil.com/Chad Westport. There's going to be a 283-page PDF about the super soil that we're talking about. That's the water-only cannabis blend. That's the example that grew 70 peppers versus 7 peppers. Okay. You can grab a bag and try it at home or whatever you need to do. But the paper and all the science and how to replicate the experiment is all listed out there, the controls, if you want to replicate it or if you want to read about the process. And then I have a paper that will be published soon about CEC and its relation to nutrition. And then the biome replication technology PDF that was just put up there will also be up there. That's just an explanation of the importance of this information to get out there. I really think it's important that with this info, our biggest problem as manufacturers is fuel, right? Our fuel cost is driving the cost of soil out of the world, through the roof. So manufacturing soil has tripled or almost tripled since I started my company. And so my entire margin is gone almost.
Yeah.
And so, and I was, this whole time I'm thinking it's the fuel cost, but fundamentally it takes labor hours to get that fuel out of the ground, and those labor hours are dictated by food costs. So food costs are causing the fuel costs to be high. So unless we address food costs, there's no way we're going to get cheap fuel, cheap electronics, cheap goods, cheap anything. We're not going to get anything under control. I did the math. It costs about $30,000 on a bean and soup diet for basic nutrition for my kids. It costs about $30,000 a year.
Wow.
And so what normal human can afford if they have 3 kids? That's 90 grand they got to spend on their kids alone on food, and then they got their bills on top of it. That's not okay. All right. And I don't care how much it costs or how hard it is to get this message out here, but we don't have to change a thing. All we got to do is shift the perspective and shift the way we look at soil and the way we look at food production, and we can be more efficient and cheaper. I mean, so that's the goal. So with all of this, the soil company and this whole venture is to try to get closer to that end goal of food sustainability. And so there's that biome replication technology PDF is saying there is nothing more efficient than having nature complete a system that it evolved to do perfectly over millions of years. There's no way that we can mine the mineral, extract it, package it, ship it, store it, sell it, use it more efficiently than nature. It's impossible. We have to be honest with ourselves, and it's only going, the longer we don't face this problem, the harder it'll be to recover. And so every day that goes by, the farmers are over fertilizing their soils and locking nutrients out and doing irreversible damage to the water table every single day.
Yeah.
And things that we don't even realize yet. And the truth is I don't think we are smart enough to figure out their diets perfectly. You find with synthetic grows, they expire faster, they're deficient in certain things, and they cost more. And not only that, a lot of times they got to be indoors because they're very pests are an issue because of the imbalance. Yeah.
Yeah, I've always said that, one, cannabis is a gateway drug to gardening. Love that because it's true for me, true for so many others. But a healthy population is a productive population. So solving the food problem is huge. And, growing good, healthy, organic food. Why organic versus hydroponic? Well, the organic is more nutrient dense. It's more nutrient rich than the hydroponically grown kind. So, kind of tomato is not a tomato. There is a difference, and it starts with the source of kind of where it grows. So I definitely see how in the big picture, food could be one of the causes for it to rise. But does that mean then for you, like you pay particular attention to where you're sourcing your materials, or because again, carbon footprint, gasoline, I could get, something here and something way over there. Is that part of the equation for you?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Quality in gets quality out, and there's no way around it. The worm castings are fed, and the worms are fed entirely organic diets. They're given full plant diets. They're not given scraps. There's no food scraps. There's no waste. There's nothing coming from a city disposal. They're all given fresh food, and all the compost and stuff is old forest growth, recycled in the country. We get plenty of stuff. And as far as like the blood mill and all that stuff, that's all local stuff. All of it in Virginia is actually a really cool place to be because we have a lot of agriculture and industry here. So it's really a great place to have a company. So it's pretty cool, but having quality inputs is one of the most important things of the whole thing.
Yeah, and like this comment says is, when you live in an environment or around farms and stuff, you can help kind of close the loops. One man's trash is another man's treasure. And when it comes to cow poop, so true. Llama poop, even more so.
We all have and micros and macros that you can expand that to a personal level. We all have a function in this world. We all have a mission. And as long as we stay true to that, we will all be in symbiosis. And so we got to close the loop in every aspect of life, not just the garden. And one of the cool things about biome replication technology is it's entirely closed loop. There's no runoff involved. You don't want runoff. You don't need runoff. The only water is needed as a weight test. You don't do anything else. You don't feed. You don't do nothing. Everything else is handled by the soil. And so not having runoff is super important for testing and commercial applications as well. Yeah,
Absolutely. That's a huge difference between, like a cocoa grower or a living soil grower. A fundamental difference in how you treat your medium and how you, I guess, read and use the medium. And we've got, both in here. Again, I always
support
encourage
both.
people to grow. Yeah, grow number one. Grow the best, grow what works for you first, and then maybe branch out into some other things. But
No,
I always say just get growing.
There's definitely applications where hydro growing has advantages, like microgreens and other things like that.
Mhm.
But for cannabis, you're swimming upstream.
Yep. What's Rusty Nails here's got a good comment. He says, my worms mainly eat cannabis and the pulp from seed teas. So again, he's closing the loop there. He's using the materials that he's making to build a more sustainable system. So I always love to see stuff like that.
Amazing. One thing.
Yep.
Cannabis leaves, they absorb a lot of the heavy metals. And so just be careful recycling those. Make sure you do a test every now and then and make sure if you don't have heavy metals, they won't end up in there. But if you do, that's where they're going to saturate at. And if you're going to reintroduce it, you're going to reintroduce it in concentration. So just do it. The heavy metals tests are $45. Usually they're under $50 and they'll be same week. So you can send your sample to your state testing facility and they can do a heavy metals test for you for under $50. And as long as you do it once, then your system's good. But just make sure that if you're reintroducing leaves, there's definitely concentrated heavy metals if you are introducing heavy metals.
That's very good to know because there's a lot of little things that could sneak up on us unbeknowingly, especially when we're doing the right thing. We're closing our loop here. Another thing, like Tad talks about too, is with the mycorrhizae. They are also an accumulator, or they speed up the accumulation of heavy metals in some of the soils. So when people are, commercial, because he works with a lot of commercial facilities as well. And for them, it's super important, such a small tolerance. For us at home, yeah, we're concerned about heavy metals, but in the minuscule amounts that the state is looking for, maybe we're not so concerned about that. But that is something that sneaks up on you because, again, we know the symbiotic relationship between like mycorrhizae and the roots and nutrients and that it's good. An ingredient that always comes up when it comes to like heavy metals and accumulation, you use too much of it, is usually like kelp. Kelp is a PGR. It's a natural PGR. It does great things for the plants, but a lot of times where it's harvested from or sourced from, it can also come with heavy metals. Are there any other ingredients that, may have that like hidden warning or anything that sticks out to you as far as, moderation, I guess?
I would say I can only speak from my experience, and I haven't personally found anything that's introduced from my sources that's introduced heavy metals. Good. I would say compost would be probably a pretty good place to find it. Anything that's composted, not knowing where the plants that are composted came from. Excuse me.
No problem. One of the big problems here with compost is like, I could go down and pick up a trailer full from the city of just compost, but they've also, in a lot of places too, they've started introducing municipal waste into the compost. Yeah, and that can inject all sorts of things that we're not trying to put in our
I feel like it's all
soil.
by design, to be honest with you. I think every day that goes by, we're getting taken, kind of like how water's now bottled. Every day that goes by, we're getting further and further removed from actual soil. A couple of years ago, they were talking about banning the production of living soil, or at least making it very restricted to the point where I would have gone out of business had they passed those laws. And so now in DC, they have rules where the grow facility must throw out their old medium before starting their new grow. And imagine how expensive it would be if you're throwing out living soil. So that's directly targeted towards living soil to get them forced using synthetics, which are all pretty much all owned by BlackRock and Vanguard.
Mhm.
And so it's just to get us back to that.
Yeah, because that goes against everything really that living soil stands for. It's reuse. Again, close that loop. Feed your soil, feed the plants, and the longer you do it, as long as you keep a good soil structure, the less you have to put into it over time, and that's a huge plus for a lot of people. Carbon footprint, even more so. But I can't believe it's mind blowing. I can't believe, but it's mind blowing that I almost said state regulated system, but DC is on its own jurisdiction.
Yeah.
But a regulated system would require something that is just moronic at face value. Like, I can't think of a better word. It's just like, that's moronic, man.
It doesn't make much sense.
No,
You know?
it doesn't. So that's when you always start to look for,
We're working on fixing it, but until then, we're gonna try to recycle the soils and get them back into the facilities, because we have an OMRI certified mixing facility, so we'll be able to recertify for them.
Nice.
But yeah, that's the goal. Let me introduce you to Chicken.
Yeah, let me blow up Chicken here. Whoa, what is going on there? That is wild.
Chicken's my friend.
I like chicken. How long have you had Chicken?
3 years. So
Okay.
that's been in the same soil basically since day one.
Oh wow. Now, is it eating some of the soil? Like, I've noticed that in houseplants sometimes over the years, over time, it's just like soil
lower.
mass.
It was compaction as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a little compaction. You got to be very careful with your watering, especially with living soil, because it's very easy to compact your soil. So the only way to really fix that is going to be cover crops that dig deep, or just remixing it or tilling it.
Yeah. Here's kind of a question going back to, some of the ingredients. This was an earlier question from Dutch Bro. But he had a question. He says, what are the best insects and other additions to the living soil substrates? And again, I'm sure everybody's going to have their own opinion, but there's probably some good things that people recommend.
I don't personally add anything. Everything just shows up on its own, either from outside or in.
How does it show up in a bag though? Because I'm the consumer. I'm at the store and I buy the bag of the soil, and some people add like insect frass, but how does it just show up for you in your mix?
I thought you were talking about actual biological living bugs.
No, sorry. Yeah, there is a difference there between like beneficial insects, the living ones, hunting them down, versus like insect frass, which is the dead shells of insects, which is more an ingredient.
Yeah, hell yeah. We have black soldier fries. So we make our own. So we're partnered with Mountain Gate Organics out of Virginia. So Mountain Gate Organics is an organic worm casting producer, the very, very finest worm castings I've ever used, and together we're like a super team. Nice. So we make black soldier fly insect frass. We make worm castings and a few other things here and there. So I'm all for anything that's organic that you would find in nature. Like, I love blood meal, I love bone meal, I love all of this stuff, because like an animal would die in nature and bleed out on top of the plant. And when I build the soils, that's what I'm visualizing. I'm visualizing the bugs walking along and pooping and all this stuff. Oh, Mountain Gate are the best. Like,
and he's grown some wonderful things too. I've heard. So quality in, quality out, right?
That's right. Yeah. And but as far as bugs go, all of them are good. Can't use too many, you can't use too little. I mean, I guess you just use too much, but you don't want to change the composition of your soil. But yeah, use anything you have accessible. If you have a good living soil, it's going to process, store it, and access it as needed. When you have good CEC in the soil and you keep your soil your rhizosphere alive, right? With living soil, you don't want drybacks. You want a consistent moisture so they can stay in symbiosis and stuff. So as long as everything's operating fine, you're pretty cool to add whatever you feel like. And if it's too much, it's not going to do too much except for either store or wash out, basically wash out the bottom.
There's less of a
go ahead.
Sorry, less of a chance of burning or, making the soil toxic from some of these ingredients compared to immediately plant available different EC synthetic ingredients.
Well,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, burning wise, I mean, I guess you could add too much, but like, what would you want to change? Like, I don't. For me, I would rather add something like this where it's all pre-mixed at a good ratio than just add raw blood meal on top. I don't think that would be an effective treatment. And like those raw things, like some of those can burn, but if you're just doing a top dress like this, it's not going to burn nothing. So
right.
I guess it's just different systems, but in my system, I don't necessarily do any of that. Okay. I'm kind of replicating the soil, and then when it needs nutrients, I might address it with this general purpose nutrient. And then I have this, which is a bloom booster. So if you see one is supercharged, that's at the beginning of your bandwidth, your power band, and turbocharge is usually at the end of your power band. And so this is a bloom and flower booster. If you have like azaleas or you got roses or you're using a different soil other than super soil and you want a little bit of extra boost at a natural rate, this locks out some things and then boosts other things, and it dissipates pretty quickly. And then this is the last thing. This is called Renew. And then so this helps rebuild compacted soil and strip soil. So if you've got basically dead soil, this would be the only solution for that. And between those, there's really no top dressing required, or I would sell it. I would package it up and sell it to you. But if you're using the APSU system, there's no need for any of that.
Okay. And so that's kind of sounds or looks similar to what I'm doing is I use my soil. I don't really need to add anything, dependent a bit, again, on the duration of growth, also with the size of the pot. But I've familiar enough, I can just go and then I amend the soil, kind of like that product there. I would add that to the soil. I would mix it up. Like I said, bring it outside, mix it all up, bring it back in. Don't need to add anything, pot it, plant it, good to go, and then just repeat.
Before I switched to this system, I would top dress, and I'd do some back guano here, and I would do, insect frass, and I would do other stuff. But it ended up being so expensive for the results. So you have to understand that I've been fine tuning this in production farming. So it's like every dollar matters, and getting the best quality product is also the most important thing. So it's like, if I'm spending extra to get the same exact results, I'm going to cut that out. And so that's basically how we got this recipe for the soil is I brought stuff in, brought stuff out, brought stuff in, and eventually we got here. And so, so you can do it that way. But there is a certain ratio that it needs to be added in that would be the most efficient way to do it. And that's kind of what this supercharge is.
Keeps the balance.
Right. You gotta add a little lime with it and other stuff, to make sure that it locks in.
Okay. So a couple questions here. We talked about, or you just mentioned, watering too, and how that can have an effect. And, again, watering cocoa is going to be different than living soil. I know, with the Westport blend, I use the Bluemont tensiometers. I know what what range to water that at. And there's a couple questions in here from the growers. Question, I'm in an auto pot. How dry do I wait before turning it back on? So with your soil specifically, do you have, just like the weight test or like M-bar? Do you have any recommendations on how people should be watering? Because I know actually I messed this up when I first got your soil. I wasn't watering nearly enough. You said, dude, you're using that much. And then I used what you said, and my plant just went grew.
Mhm.
I was like,
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
What do you recommend?
Yes, and that's what it goes back to when I said that these plants evolved in bogs and to be wet all the time. You got to trust me on it. So what happens is when you have all that water, it's making that CEC, it's actually making the CEC what it's supposed to be. So my soil is like over 2.2, somewhere like it's really high. And so when that happens, it needs to be wet all the time. But the thing is what most soil builders are going to have a problem with is when you have it wet all the time, you're going to lose oxygen. So how do you have it wet all the time but still oxygenated? And that's really going to come to your base mix. And every single time I try to solve this problem, it came back to the natural soil was the very best performing soil out of all the mixes. And so that CEC needs to match perfectly with the plant. And when that happens, and everything explodes, like you said. And so I forgot the original question, but
it was just basically how wet do you like to keep it?
Yeah, the
because this person was talking about with dry bags.
Okay, so I got it. So with the correct soil, right? With the correct soil, the wetness will be managed so that it'll stay. So the saturation, right? It'll all be wet, but the saturation will be at the exact saturation it's supposed to. So the oxygen isn't removed from the soil. All right. Okay. All right. So with that in mind, go ahead. Okay. So with that in mind,
please.
Okay. So with that in mind, if you have the right soil, there's really no worry of overwatering. You're never going to overwater because your porosity and your water absorption is all going to be at the right ratio. And what's going to aid that connectivity is clays. There's a lot of things that can aid that, right? So surface area, clays, smaller particles, increase CEC. And the more CEC for weed, the better. And so if you add cocoa, you're reducing your CEC. Any scoop of cocoa is reducing your CEC, right? And that's the game that all soil builders have to make. They have to decide how much of these ingredients do they want to add for porosity without removing the adequate amount of CEC. And the truth is it's really hard and really expensive to create the correct mix for your plant. And most people aren't going to be able to afford to do it. Now, to answer the autopot question, thank you for letting me finish that. The autopot question, most of your microbes are going to be in the top couple inches of your soil. So you got to top water. If you're not hand feeding like that or top watering, you're not hitting the potential of your soil. Now, if you have constraints like your schedule, I get it. Totally normal, totally understandable. Most people are in that situation. The super soil works great in autopots. As far as like turning it on and off, I would just do a basic like weight test. I'd pick up on the corner of the autopot and see how heavy it is. And you have to remember that it's an exponential curve with your room temperature and RH and the plant size. So all three of those variables are going to constantly be adjusting the amount of water you give it. It could be a rainy day and you give it half the amount of water because it never evaporated out the room. And so I can't give you a definitive watering thing. I can only tell you is check the weight of the pot. And when it reaches about half of what it is full, that's when you want to start bringing it up to 60, 70%. But you don't want to completely saturate it every time. You just want to keep a constant trickle. Imagine it like a Florida weather. It's just raining every day for 30 minutes, 40 minutes. It rains every day. Kind of like that. The Florida is kind of like where we kind of is indigenous. So if you can imagine that type of a swampy, really humus rich, organic, wet environment, but still really like has good aeration, then that's really what you're going for. And that's,
what I found, like with the auto pots and like heavier soils, usually like living soils, that the auto pots tend to do better with a lighter soil, kind of like cocoa, something with more natural airspace, a different structure. I definitely have had to turn them off when it comes to the living soils, and this is across a few different brands. Because the capillary action just soaks it up so much, and that soil holds so much moisture that the first time I really discovered it is, the plant grew decent. I flipped it over at the end. I always inspect my root ball. I could grab a chunk and dripping, like that is way too wet.
Yeah,
I almost killed a round of plants with my auto pots because I didn't turn it off. So I usually turn it off 2 days a week at least, but I also have precision measuring through M bars in my soil, 80 M bar, water it. So yeah,
that's the way to do it.
I wanted to add that in there. And I'm sorry. One more thing is I wanted to specifically address that one too, because I know a lot of people are growing my genetics and they've watched the video where I do grow them in the auto pots. I also grow them in the 7 gallons in hand water. But I know specifically like the Westport posse and even the No Joke sometimes, but absolutely the Westport grape juice do not like wet feet. Like compared to other plants, I always keep them a little bit drier. So there is a little bit of variability. But I wanted to, what's that?
Are they sativa dominant?
No. I would say more indica, if anything. I mean, they're all really hybrid, but more indica leaning in morphology and effects. And
we've had the same experience. So there is outliers, about 10% of strains that don't perform well as some strains in the super soil. And for those, we just add volcanic rock. What do you call it?
Okay, pumice. The pumice?
Pumice. We add pumice.
Yep. That's 20%.
We add 20% pumice. And and that we will find, but from our trials and stuff that we've conducted and our feedback from facilities, about 80 to 90% perform flawlessly. And then you'll have a couple different outliers that really need to dry off a little bit here and there. But it's interesting because we find that a lot of them have sativa lineage in them. So they came from a hotter environment that had more evaporation going on. Okay.
We just had let's see here, trying to pull something up. We had a question here. Dennis dropped out. Hey, I will show a video here real quick, guys, because Insurance Guy says, show us finished flowers done in this APSU soil. And I quickly hopped to the other screen, typed in Chad Westport Kool-Aid Man, and let me bring this video up. We'll watch it we'll watch it together. I haven't seen this video for a minute here, but we'll watch this together. So you guys were asking, show us a finished flower done in this APSU soil. So here real quick, I'll try to skip over it because showing plants sometimes just gets the plant and the channel spanked. Let's see. So we got some nice frosty flowers here. I mean, that's the cool man. That's the birth of so this is the week 3 in flower. That's the Kool-Aid Man. So that's how it's growing right there. That's the APSU super soil. That's the plant growing in it. See, it's just continuously getting frostier and frostier. That's week 5 of flower.
Trikes on the leaves is like mandatory. Trikes on the fan leaf.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah. These things just create rails. I mean, look at those. It's just frost rails. So this was Yeah, this was the seed run, and you can kind of see a plant next to it had a little bit more yellowing on the leaf. That one didn't finish as good, but it was a different soil. But this is the APSU soil. You asked, you got it. This is grown in there, so you guys can see proof is in the pudding, as I always like to say. All right, I'll stop sharing. Hopefully we don't get spanked.
And what's super cool, and the reason that as a grower and as somebody who's very passionate about the plant, the reason that first of all, the reason I went soil from weed is because I saw my friends struggling and I wanted to give them an opportunity to help themselves, and the soil helps with that. But the goal is because they're trying to take our rights away, all right? And is to get as many people involved as possible. If we can get as many people growing, we have more people that want to fix it, that want to legalize it, that want to deschedule it, everything. And so the only, like for me, I started with Fox Farm and General Hydroponic Nutrients, and I quit. Like it was terrible. And it took a little bit of time to come back. It took until I was invited to a weed farm to work to want to grow again. And and I think a lot of people would be in the same situation, and grow stores would love to keep you in this cycle of coming in and out and not really tell you the truth. And you're going to come in and buy a bag, and that brand is going to have a supporting product on the wall for you to come back for a week later. And so that's very discouraging, especially for somebody who's busy and actually has a life, and they can't dedicate they might have kids or whatever. This soil, you'll be able to grow what Chad grew with just water and a regular, 600-700 watt light, no problem, repeatedly every single time. You can give it to your grandmother, you can give it to your children that are over 18, whatever. You can give it to anybody and they'll be able to grow. I find that a lot of these of our users end up buying a lot of soil for their parents' gardens and stuff afterwards. So it's like to make it easier for general people that don't have knowledge at the time, and they can focus on building a better environment or improving the fundamentals of growing versus being thrown off by technicalities, really, and you don't know what you don't know. So it's better to start off something with like that, pre-built, pre-fed as a beginner than anything else. Yeah, you don't want to add. I don't want you to add anything at all. In fact, you're going to start locking things out. The best thing you can do, if you want to add stuff and you want to tinker, we sell a living soil that's just like everybody else, and it's cheaper. So we have that product. We can sell you living soil. It's like $35 a bag, and it costs more than all the other brands to manufacture. And so we have that. We have tea schedules on the site. We have top dress regimens. We have the supercharged and the turbocharged work great with other soils. They work great with our living soil. I would not recommend them right away with our super soil. So you can, you can pretty much use it for 2-3 cycles. You might run out of a couple little things, like you might be a little nitrogen deficient by, like month 9 or 10, but just add a little bit of nitrogen and we're good to go. And you just top dress with the supercharge and you're good for a whole nother cycle. And, but yeah, that's how it works. And that's how soil should be built. If it's not doing that for you, it's not built for your plant.
And container size does matter. Again, the bigger the soil mass, the larger the battery, the longer you'll get. 1 gallon definitely wouldn't have grown that plant, but the size that it was in was proper. And again, insurance guy, yeah, it was that soil, it was water, that was it. That was the whole point of the run. You can actually go back and watch the water only series. I think I actually have it as a playlist on my YouTube channel. But yeah, I just set it and let it run. But I also want to point out too, genetics matter.
For sure.
Not all genetics will look like that. So great genetics produce great things when given the right food. And that's exactly what we saw in that picture. So yes, just because you have an amazing soil and excellent food, if you water it right, doesn't guarantee you those frost rails. It's got to start with the right genetics.
But if you email me, I'll send you some seeds for free. No problem. You just got to email me. You email me, if you buy a bag of soil, I'll send you seeds so you can make it happen.
That's
No problem.
badass. Let's speaking of getting people growing, let's do another bean giveaway here. I'm gonna give away some more seeds. You had mentioned maybe a t-shirt, get people presenting. So people are gonna have to as the camera follows you. Well, let's see here. I'll blow this up here. Well, we're gonna play right now for a pack of the Zesty V. Chat, tell me if you think it is Zesty V or Zesty 5. To be determined. But a big shout out again to Mr. Spliff of Cannabis. I'm trying to get that logo to focus because Mr. Spliff of Cannabis has supplied the community here with a whole bunch of beans to get growing. And if you search for him, there we go. If you search for him here on YouTube, it's Mr. Spliff of Cannabis 420. Subscribe to the channel, learn more about it. He's got a fantastic background working with a lot of tremendous genetics. So these are going to be pretty good. And the Zesty V will go with Zesty V, Zesty 5. You could call it whatever you want. I should probably ask him, right? Vanilla Chem crossed with citrus is what you're playing for. So if you are in the US and you would like to play for this pack from Mr. Spliff of Cannabis, go ahead and in the chat, please just type the word. Here we go. Type the word spliff. So yes, we'll do spliff. And from Dennis, what do we've got here? We've got.
I'm trying to. It just keeps zooming in on me.
Yeah, I know. It keeps following. That's kind of a sick little bird, though.
A silk screen 1 of 500 T-shirt.
Oh wow.
So it has my motto, never compromise, and GATS Organic is my genetics brand. So gatsorganic.com, GATZ organic.com is my website. And so this is my Blue Falcon. It's the strain that made me all my money, that let me start my company. And so Blue Falcon is actually from my military days in the Marine Corps. A Blue Falcon is basically a buddy fucker. So it's somebody that fucks you over.
Oh,
and
no.
so the strain was so strong, it kept making me miss appointments, and I wasn't showing up on time. And so I had to change the name to Blue Falcon. And so that's like a little piece of BC history right there, because that was an awesome strain.
I like how you got to the name. That sounds like how I get to a lot of my names. It's like an inside meeting on top of an inside joke that makes absolute sense once it's explained.
Yeah.
Tell us about that while we're doing the giveaway real quick. Tell us about Blue Falcon. Like, what was it that drew you to it? Why did you decide that's the one I'm going to grow?
It was a prayer. So I had $80, $90 in my pocket. I had a decision to make. I wasn't in a good place. As a veteran, sometimes things are harder. And so I said a prayer. And at the time, I didn't realize, but I had harvested a plant the next day. In the seed run that I did, I found Blue Falcon, and I actually lost the other plant. So it was the only plant left.
Oh wow!
So out of like 20 some plants, I got broad mites. Oh, appreciate you. Thanks for your tax money. And so anyway, so it got broad mites, and I lost everything but this one plant. And then I didn't realize it till a few years later that it was literally it was right after I had prayed that I had found the seed. And so with that, I was basically I just went for broke, and I took that to a weed broker in DC, and it got sold. And then from there, I grew another one, and I sold more. And before you know it, I got myself out of that hole. And then I got other people out of their hole, and we started the soil company. And then so that's how it started. And Blue Falcon is the strain that carried that.
That's awesome, man. Again, I like what you're doing. I like your mission. I like the product, but also the fact that it's a veteran-owned and operated business is another plus, working in the right direction for you. And I know there's a lot of veterans that are listening and watching today, and that's something, again, like to stick together and support your friends. So what do we got there? What's that? Whoops.
So this is I'm working with this camera. I just got it today, but this is an island blend. So this is based off of a sample off of an island. So this is a tropical blend. It's made for.
Uh-oh. So I'm wondering too with this tropical blend. I don't know if he's able to hear me or not.
I can hear you. I'm curious.
Okay. Okay. With the tropical blend, so that's kind of like representing that biome again, or some of the natural things found in that area.
Exactly. And so what we figured out, well, there's a million different biomes in the world, and you can make a soil for each one of them. But practically speaking, if you pick intervals along that spectrum, you can get really close to the needs of almost every plant. So we figured out that there's about 8 intervals, so 8 different soil blends that will cover most every single plant. And what's super cool is that I made this guide here. This is our soil guide.
Let's
I don't know if it's
okay.
so.
And is this something people see online, or is it going to be on that link?
The PDF it's on the website. Oh my goodness, sorry about this. Yeah, I'm gonna just hold it.
No, it's okay. Hey, dude, it adds an element of fun.
What this is gonna be the plant in alphabetical order. It's gonna have the soil that have the amount of adjustments you need to make to the soil, and the goal is no adjustment. That's the goal, is to have no adjustment. So you can just take it from the bag and give it water and it'd be good. But some things need adjustment for like aeration, etc. So you might need adjustments. So it might say perlite or something. After that, it tells you the native region that the plant evolved in. That way you can look up like the water schedule and stuff. You can figure out what naturally the water table is doing. And then after that, it tells you the native biome, just so you know, like that's where it's coming from. Like it classifies the biome for you. And so I have that for over 900 species of plants that we've tested. And so between the 8 different blends, you can pretty much grow any crop from a banana to a pineapple to ayahuasca. Anything you want to grow, it can grow in the soil. And on top of it, since we've done all this is applicable to terrariums and animals because it's natural. So all of these, well, not all of the soil blends, but 3 of the soil blends are edible, and that covers all your your desert species, tropical and forest species. And so yeah, there's blends for terrariums and pets that are natural, that will naturally get rid of odors and stuff, and pre-charged. And then we have 5 other blends that are plant specific as well. So it's pretty cool. And I got a bunch of other recipes, but practically speaking, we have 8 recipes, and I think that's enough for right now. And we're tweaking them here and there to make them better, but they're pretty dialed.
And go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to show you while you talk. Go ahead. So this is the Cactus Jack. So this is the Cactus Jack mix. This actually weighs 16 pounds. A full cubic foot of this is 60 some pounds. Oh wow! So it's very, very heavy. And then this is a killer. This is a killer soil. So this is for carnivorous plants only. So this is for bogs. This is for bog species. So this is for carnivorous plants. This was off of soil samples from Virginia's Great Dismal Swamp, which is where Venus flytraps are indigenous. So we have like a really good carnivorous environment here in Virginia to study. So it made it pretty cool to make this recipe. Then forest floor here, this is going to be the basic houseplant mix. 90% of everything sold at nursery is going to be going into this
forest floor. Okay.
Yeah. And then after that, we're going to get into the biomes. If it says biome on it, it's pet friendly. So it'll have pets on it. And so this is the island biome. I don't know if it can.
There we go. Yep, got that.
Yeah.
So is that your
so you
cannabis blend?
Oh yeah, let's get to that. Let's skip all this and go straight to the weed.
Oh no, you do have one. Okay, I didn't know if that one would work for it as well. But
this is the cannabis blend. So you scan here. All right, you scan here. It'll take you straight to the website. It'll give you directions. It'll tell you everything you need to know. The file with 280 pages of information is there. Everything's there. Full instructions on the back. Full nutrition. But yeah, this is the one this is the super soil seed to harvest.
Okay.
Soil.
So that's closest to what I was using.
This is the same recipe. This is the exact soil you used. Yeah.
Perfect.
This has never changed. This has been the same recipe since we started. We've never changed it. Now, this recipe, the pink bag, this is comparable to any other living soil on shelves. This is a general purpose mix. So, any of the other brands that make living soils, this is like what would be comparable. And
one of the people has been driving. He's been to Dismal Swamp, driving from Virginia Beach to Charleston. Black water doesn't sound. We have this place called Dismal Niche near us, so maybe it's friends with Dismal Swamp. That's kind of why do we name things Dismal? That's interesting. But
Virginia's in place for sure.
Interesting state.
Yeah,
well, dude. Well, let's give these away here real quick.
Yeah.
We'll do one more again. This is for a pack of the Zesty V Vanilla Chem crossed with citrus, and this came from Mr. Spliff of Cannabis. Hooks it up for the community, and we're also going to do the T-shirt from APSU. So let's give this away again. US only, guys. Let's hit the button. All right, so you can get a hold of me, and again, website is down below for Dennis and APSU, but my Instagram as well as my website is down in the show notes. So Charm City Chaos. Congratulations. Thank you for being here. Thank you for participating today. I've got you down for that T-shirt and the Zesty V. All right. Well, we'll do another one here before the day is done.
I want to talk about some science. I want to leave these guys with a little science stuff and not just a bunch of info about me.
Yes, let's do it
for the rest of the show. But I want to answer one question I saw in the comments. It was
sure.
Generally, what makes our soil different? And I already answered it once, but I'm going to re-answer it in case you just dropped in. The reason it's different is because we have engineered a base mix that makes the nutrients accessible to 100% accessibility. If you don't create the base mix with this level of electrical connectivity and cation exchange capacity, it will not reach basically 100% efficacy. And so when you start mixing in cocoa and perlite, you start watering down that EC. And so we've created a mix that has lots of porosity, but at the same time has lots of EC. And that is basically the key to accessing 100% nutrients and making them all available. And that is why it's water only. That's why you don't have to fertilize again, is because we've basically reached equilibrium. And so when you're at this equilibrium, it all kind of just falls into place. And why is that different than anybody else? Because, well, it takes a ton of money and a ton of time and a ton of resources to produce, right? It takes 6 to 8 to sometimes 10 to 12 weeks to cook and do a curing process. So once it's done cooking, we do a patent pending curing process where we're cycling nutrients like they would in nature. And I will explain all that once the intellectual property is confirmed. But we have a process where we cycle the nutrients before it even gets bagged. So that doesn't stop at curing. It continues on for a few more weeks until it reaches the equilibrium we're looking for. And it's kind of like, at this point for us, it's a visual thing. We can literally see the difference. And so when we see it's the right composition, we bag it and it goes out. And because of that, it's 100% ready when you get it. It doesn't need time to cook. It doesn't need time to get ready. It's done. It's ready for you to win a trophy, to win a cannabis cup, essentially, which people do. The first winner of the National Cannabis Festival, Drew Downs, uses our soil.
Dang, very nice. And can it overcook? Like if it's sitting at the store for a month, maybe 2 months before somebody gets it, does it lose a lot of its magic, or is it still kind of good to go once it's
scientifically speaking, from what I've read, it should last about 2 years. We've never had a bag on shelves for longer than 3 months. I mean, I don't think that would have never existed. So we don't know, but I would say theoretically, from what I understand, it shouldn't make much of a difference because it'll all go dormant for it'll be in a dormant state for quite a while anyways. So it's not going to just disappear. You're going to have to just re-wake it up. And so with water. Right. When you water it again, it's going to wake up and give that environment for it more oxygen, etc. And so I would say 2 years probably is what they say. I don't know though. We just use it. Yeah.
2 years. It should get into people's hands into the 2
years. Just wait 2 years to buy it.
You're right. You'd be like at a
soil.
Doomsday Vault. You always keep an extra jar from every batch on the shelf, and then you go back to it every 2 years, every 4 years, every 5 years, and test a little bit of it. That's my curious mind. Someone asked here, what do we search for on Amazon?
So we just got pulled from Amazon for a technicality. I'm working with them right now, but you're just going to type in. You should be able to it should still pop up. APSU Super Soil should pop up. The product is just going to list unavailable for the moment, but it was up. It will be back up in no time. You can also go to my website, apsusoil.com, and you can find a shop nearby, or you can buy it from the website. I would prefer you shop local, but if you want to get it from the website, that's perfectly fine.
Okay. I think Rusty found it, but he said, was there a code for free shipping? Or
no, it's going to be free shipping. If it wants to charge you, just go through the whole process. It's not going to charge you.
Okay, maybe you just need to be logged in or a Prime member.
If you try to use a discount code, it'll take away the free shipping. The free shipping is worth more than the discount.
Okay, so that's okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure people knew where to find it. And again, guys, we've got his link down in the show notes. And also, if you go to this link at the end of the show, tomorrow, let's say tomorrow, you'll find some of the PDFs and some of the information that we've talked about. So I know you wanted to dive a little bit into the science. So let's do that. Let's go into some of that stuff before we do a giveaway again. So I'll turn the floor over to you.
Thanks, Chad. So I think our main problems are like, we're going to see like deficiencies and stuff like that. And so if your soil has low CEC and it doesn't have much clay and it doesn't have much organic matter, or if it's the wrong texture, i.e. it's more porous than it should be, or too fine, like too sandy or whatever, or it's low on microbes, all of that's going to affect your nutrient delivery. So that's why they always tell you to do cover crops, right? So that helps your microbes, right? And that's going to help your CEC. And that's why they tell you to do microbial teas, right? Compost teas. And with liquid fertilizers, like, if you're low on nitrogen, you could add kelp, or you could add like a urea. And that'll feed the plant directly and stuff. But it might rapidly access the nutrients and dissipate them. So you have to be very careful what you add. Foliar feeds are another way to increase your CEC. Mulching is another way. Mycorrhiza is another way. and worm castings are all great ways. The problem with all of this is they're just band-aids. All right, that's the number one thing we need to understand, is that these are all great solutions. You cannot change your soil. But if you're having problems that are causing you to implement these particular solutions mandatory, right, not just to sweeten it, but if you're having to top dress and you're having to do vermicompost and you're having to actually liquid fertilize, you need to understand that your soil medium is the incorrect ratios. Like, you're using the wrong base mix. And so if you fix your base mix, then all of that falls into place, like I've been saying. So like, you know, a cover crop will only raise your EC for short terms. It's not a stable type of humus. It doesn't compost immediately. As far as compost teas, of course, it's going to accelerate your microbes and mineralization, and that's going to temporarily raise your EC, but it's not going to increase your CEC. So it's not going to increase the size of the mount. And that you need, for weed, you need a huge mount. And so we have to visualize like a crocodile. And it's like, the more you pump up the EC and CEC, the bigger that crocodile opens up and eats. And so same with liquid fertilizers, it'll dissolve fast. It's not going to help CEC. It's just going to help electrical connectivity, which is a temporary thing. And so that's like the most critical thing I want to convey today. I don't want to necessarily get into like crazy science about it, although I'm happy to answer it. But the main takeaway for everybody from beginner to expert is that if you're doing any of those things, you don't have the correct soil. And so if you just change your soil, all of it will be that much more effective, and you're going to save yourself a ton of money. And unfortunately, there's no store and there's no company that's going to tell you this, and colleges aren't paid to tell anybody. So where are you going to hear it from, except for from somebody who owns a soil company like Tad and I?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And that's, you know, something that I do enjoy about both of you guys. You're very science focused and evidence-based oriented. You guys definitely search out some of the research, and that's why I put a lot of faith, you know, in the work that both of you do. Sometimes, you know, you can't be an expert in everything, speaking for myself, and I need to focus in other areas, find the smart people in other areas, and then rely upon them. I always say trust and verify, you know, and that goes with everything, even, you know, things that I say. Trust it, but verify it too. Make sure you can confirm it, because there's always going to be exceptions. There's always going to be, oh, but this variable. And that maybe is maybe that rare slice of the pie that needs to do something different. But speaking in general terms, yeah, you know, a lot of the soil, the Westport blend was made with no joke in mind, but it's going to work just as well for the ZestDB, just like your soil is going to work. And I love that you have like dedicated houseplant lines too. And the more I'm learning about tissue culture these days, the more I hear about, you know, like the carnivorous plants and the desert plants and what their agar medium needs as far as nutrients. So there's absolutely a difference. You know, one is more nitrogen heavy. Cannabis is nitrogen heavy, whereas I think maybe it was the carnivorous plants that were less. I could be wrong there, guys. But I love to see that you have different blends for the soil. So the cannabis blend that you offer is a great jump off point for really anybody with any cultivar. And then if they happen to be that sliver of an exception, they can adjust accordingly.
For sure. Or learn from it and make their own. I mean,
okay.
There's a million ways to slice it. But convenience wise and cost wise, like if you were to try to manufacture the soil at home with the cheapest prices you can find on the internet, it's still going to cost you $70 in materials plus a month and a half to 2 months, 2.5 months worth of waiting and labor, turning. And so you're free to do it, but you can also get it for way cheaper at the store. It is cool, and you have to remember, it's like there's more to it than just curing, or just what do you call it? Is that what they call it? What's the term? Cooking. Cooking. There's more to it than cooking. You got to cure your soil as well, just like you do weed. So it's kind of like the same thing. You have to, once it's cooked and everything is there, then you have to expand those microbes. So it's very important. It's a very important aspect to it, and it's not something that once I release the information, you'll be able to do at home, but it's not that easy. Yeah.
No. And, again, time is money. I've seen you out there mixing long rows in a big house with a tractor. So there's no way I'm getting out there to do that. But, I just even think of like the STS spray, what I use for reversals. I use this stuff called Toad Venom. It's from Mr. Toad. Mr. Toad is a excellent educator. I've learned a lot from him. So I have faith in him and his process. Now, I have like books right there with the recipe for STS. I know it's online. Sure, it requires a small investment in equipment to create it, but I would much rather just trust him, pay the money, which is a reasonable price, and get the exact result I want every time. To me, that's so much more worth it than trying to do it. And then there's still that margin of error. And when you're, I do encourage people to mix their own soil, but when it comes to like making your own crazy recipe for the first time, sure, you could do it, but it sucks because you usually don't find out that you messed up until halfway through your veg cycle. So save yourself some time and heartache. Go with something.
I got an analogy for us right now. You just perfect. So like, imagine we all got to go to the store to get groceries. We all take a car to get there. All right. If we go and we get in the car and the parking brake is on and we make it to the store, we still made it to the store. We still accomplished the mission. We still grew the weed, right? But we wasted some gas and we destroyed our car on the process. And so if we think about growing in that way, as we're all getting to the store one way or another. Now, are we going to get there efficiently and cheaply, or are we going to waste our money and our time getting there? And that's the most important thing to consider, is like right now, it's like we're driving with the parking brake on. And if we just shift our perspective, we'll learn, let's take the parking brake off and let's go full speed. And so, everything could be perfect, but like you don't know what you don't know until somebody's passing you.
And that's it was something that I learned when, I used a few of these different soils too, just having the proper nutrients right from the get-go makes a big difference in the growth rate, particularly in veg for you. Like you could grow good for many years or for a while and you're like, I'm doing it good. And I often say this with genetics too. It's like you have something, you've grown a bag seed that you're happy with. It's good. But then one day you get that super soil or you get that, professional genetic and you're like, oh, okay, my good just went up to here. So I need to raise the bar. And that's something I do encourage people to try out. Again, is go with one of these blends, because you may be like, damn, I thought I was good before. Now I'm not.
And then then you start unlocking all the deficiencies that you have. Like, instead of having to focus on down here at the dirt, you can start pulling, what's my CO2 ppm? Oh shit, I'm at 400 now. Maybe I should supplement. And start thinking about those type of things. Or, my temperature is really keeping my growth stagnant. Maybe that can change, and I can spend more money on a heating unit versus another batch of soil and another batch of top dress. I mean, like, let's practically speak, as growers, like, we don't have unlimited funds. And so that's the goal, is to get weed. It's not to like mess with, I mean, like, some people are growing for that, but like, we're trying to get weed out of it, or at least a product.
Yeah. Trying to make it as easy as possible. Again, that's a goal. It's like, there's, some people with limited time, limited resources, limited mobility. There's a lot of reasons why not everybody has the 10 hours a day that I do or you do to like geek out on this stuff and make little tweaks and go on the internet. And why did this, that's not reality for most people. So being able to make it easy and give people the confidence they'll get the results they want, that's the goal. So again, I do appreciate what you're doing, and I'm glad that we're able to bring some more attention to it. You're already an East Coast hit, and so there's a lot of people I know, even in chat right now, that are on the East Coast. We had somebody ask, we're in Virginia.
Shout out every single person that uses my soil that's in the chat. I really appreciate each and every one of you. My family appreciates you, and I want you to know there's over 20 different families that get the benefit because you support us. And no matter what, I want you to know that I'm never going to sell my company no matter what. It's not going to BlackRock ever. It's going to stay under my control or somebody like me's control forever. So this information and this knowledge and everything can stay in circulation. So, I mean, that's my dedication to you. Obviously, as a owner of a soil company, I could do almost anything. This doesn't make me a ton of money. I can't afford to advertise. Another thing is social media has they don't promote my accounts because I do stuff with weed. And so, and all the conventions are scams. And because our product is so niche, distribution is kind of an issue. So if you could just tell somebody, about us that might benefit, that would help everybody. So that's like a good message that I want to send to you guys is I appreciate you guys. I won't stop what I'm doing, and hopefully we'll keep doing it as long as we get support.
That's cool to hear, man. I didn't realize it was so wide reaching what you're doing, but not surprised.
We get messages from all over the world. And I mean, like yesterday I got a message from a guy from Nigeria. I mean, we get messages every single day because of this biome replication technology and biome inspired soils. And there's lots of people that are motivated and motivating us to keep going. And I wish I could get the soil to everybody. And finally, I finally decided to just come out of my pocket and pay for the shipping so it could get to you guys. So that's how it's getting free shipping. There's no special hack. I'm paying for it. So if you guys want to order it while you can, while I have money, and you'll get some soil, let's get the word out there. Hopefully some distributors or something will pick it up. But yeah, I don't mind.
That's always
and you might
find a distributor.
If you order next week, I'm going to throw a free pack of seeds in every order.
Badass. And then to something that helps, a lot of people is anybody who normally shops at a grocery store and normally picks up whatever bag of soil or whatever bag of cocoa, just ask for it. Ask for it.
Yeah,
tell your friend to ask for it. The more the store hears that, the more it's in their ear. Because a lot of them want to try something different, but Fox Farm is safe. So they put it in the store. They know it's not the best, but it'll sell.
Stores have a lot of the stores are in a very tough situation where like local suppliers like us can't supply every single product that they require. Some of these larger items they have to order. They have minimum orders with the distribution companies. All the brands at the distribution companies are all BlackRock Vanguard because the distribution companies are also owned by BlackRock Vanguard. So they're not going to stock anybody other than them. It's really a sad state of affairs, and it's not their fault. It really isn't. So be patient with them, but keep asking them because it's hard to get our soil. But I'm telling you right now, I will drive it to the store personally. So there's no excuses. If they're telling you they can't get it, they're not interested. So just come get it from the site.
Wow. And I got another grow question coming up after this one real quick. I just wanted to get to this one though. Cheddar Bob, good to see you, buddy. Suplex. He says, tell him to go through USPS. He could get commercial high volume shipping reductions.
We are. The problem is our volume isn't soil company. Like we sell a lot of soil, but it's still in the big scheme of things, packaging wise, we don't get huge discounts. That's where distribution companies specialize in shipping. That's basically their scheme. So they buy all our products and then they ship it together. So they get super cheap shipping and they make the money that way. And so I do have those accounts and stuff, but the problem is our volume is not. But here's the deal: this year I'm expanding, I think, to Oklahoma. Next year, the goal is to have another facility between Oklahoma and California, hopefully closer to Oregon, Washington, because a lot of people are up there. So that's the goal, is we're just going to take it into our own hands. We're not waiting around for distribution. We're just going to start investing in our own network.
Start filling the shelves. That's awesome. And yeah, again, I highlighted that comment because, dude, I'm all too aware of the crap show it is when it comes to shipping soil, what it costs, what discounts may be, what discounts don't really work, how, just, dude, we've tried everything. So it is a beast.
I'm just doing it.
Yeah.
I'm just doing it until I can't. So order as much as you can.
Right. Yes. Back to the growing here, though, real quick, and then I'm going to give away some beans here. But Chad Gnarly, always good to see a fellow Chad. He says, question: what soil blend do you recommend for Autoflowers? Would it be one of the different bags, or is it the same super soil that I'm throwing my no joke into?
Sorry to cut you off. So if you're doing synorganic, right? If you're going to be subsidizing with a synthetic, or you're going to be doing any type of amendments or teas or any of that?
Good question.
Go ahead and go with the living soil because it's already more aerated and porous for you. The living soil blend has a little cocoa in there. It's not going to be as spongy as the super soil. That would be my recommendation. If you are busy and working all the time, super soil. Super soil is the only option for weed. That is the blend for weed. But for that application, I would recommend living soil. Living soil is interchangeable with any other living soil on the market. So whatever regimen you're doing with Build a Soil 3.0, you can do with my living soil. It'll be the same. So that's the long and short of that. But super soil is the answer for wheat. That's what you want.
Okay. And here it is. Okay, I was looking for this question. Getting Blaze 710 says, what is the base of your living soil? Peat, cocoa, what is the base ingredient there?
So it's going to be majority compost followed by cocoa, a little bit of peat moss, some bark, perlite, castings, a lot of biochar, a lot of dolomite, some rock phosphate, kelp meal, azomite, langbonite, fishbone meal, and gypsum.
Good list of characters.
And there's a lot of the stuff in it. There's a couple pounds of amendments in each bag.
Awesome. Right on. Well, let's get some people some beans to start growing in the soil.
Oh,
guys.
Hold on. If somebody thought the living soil recipe was amazing, let me read you the super soil recipe. All right.
Yeah.
This is an incredible recipe. Compost, vermiculite, peat moss, worm castings, pumice, fishbone meal, seabird guano, blood meal, kelp meal, oyster shell, rock phosphate, dolomite, magnesium sulfate, langbonite, azomite, diatomaceous earth, biochar, and microbes.
Biochar, I've seen that mentioned a few different times in here as well. So yeah, I'm definitely familiar with the ingredient list there. All good things. And again, you test the heavy metals. This goes out to different commercial facilities where things like that, ingredients lists matter. So good to have. And what does that equal? A win. Yes. We'll do this. If you guys want to play, go ahead.
Somebody said Subcool recipe, John, and I want you to know you're very close. So Sub and I, we met on a forum a very long time ago, and that's where I got my first recipe. And so we were talking. If you look at the start of my company, I need you to understand this, as we were working together for a long time, and when he passed, his whole his machine that he built didn't necessarily get passed on to the people supporting him. And so I had a decision to make, and so I started my company. And so yeah, this is a continuation of Subcool. And for sure, it's not his recipe, but it definitely has his heart in it for sure. And yeah.
And I honestly did not know that, and that is a very cool thing. It's amazing to me how far and wide his influence is. He passed away a few years ago, but there are so many people he touched and left the impression that are carrying it on. You've got the soil recipes. Mr. Spliff worked very closely with Subcool and with Jinx Proof and all of those guys. Like he holds a lot of the stuff from Subcool. So again, another person. It's just crazy how it all connects on the show, because my first, pro genetics was Jack Cleaner too, from TGA, from Subcool. So
can I pivot one more time with another story real quick, and then we'll get to the seed. So and you're so right. And what we realize, and I know Chad and us know this, but like this world is so small, and we support each other in a whole different way. And if you want to join us, we're right here, but don't come with the charades and stuff. But we're all here, accessible, and there's an entirely different world here. And what Sub instilled in us, there's now like 1,000 subs out here, and yeah.
It's really cool. And again, it's a lot of the good people I've met too, like Eagle Gardens. He has his own channel. He's usually on almost every day as well. Kind of Mr. Spliff is almost on every day too. But he's been Eagle Garden has been such a great uniter of the community, and introducing people and exposing people and just having those good conversations. Again, it's like everybody I see, different little pieces of Subcool everywhere. You've got Super Soil, Spliff is working genetics, Eagle is bringing people together, and we all drive well.
If we just do what we're supposed to do, we all will be in symbiosis, that we're all connected as humans. We're one person, we're one body. And that's why it's so important to fix these problems that we have, because we all are living the same experience together, going through life.
Yes, and we need to keep on winning, guys. So if you guys are in the US, again, playing for a pack. Actually, I didn't even tell them what the pack was. Let me tell them what the pack is here real quick. So again, this is from Mr. Spliff of Cannabis. He also goes by Northwest Preservations. He's working on his website right now. But this is Double Baked Blessings, Double Baked Cakes crossed with Divine Messenger. It's kind of funny we picked Divine Messenger with all this Subcool talk. That's just the way it goes, guys. But yeah, if you want to play for this pack of beans in the chat, please just go ahead and type the word win, and win, English language here, WIN, not WHEN, win, when, same difference, tomato, tomato. But I always like to kind of take the end of the show, or the tail end of the show, to offer the guests the floor. I'll definitely ask where people can find you one more time, but is there anything that we didn't kind of touch on, or maybe any questions that I didn't ask this evening that you wanted to get out there? And maybe we hit it all. Yeah, maybe we hit it all.
I'm happy to talk about anything. If we want to talk about actually growing another day, like any subject about anything, I'm happy to just talk about. I think we covered, like, the main message I'm trying to get out is this biome replication technology and the importance of getting into synergy with what nature developed and how we evolved, and how that's going to save our food source. But other than that, I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm available. My website has all my info. You can text or call me if you have anything, any questions, any problems in your garden. My website has an entire help section where you can get free spray recipes for any pest problem. There's a pest section that has solutions to every pest. It has a topical, a systemic, a companion plant, and predators for whatever problem you may have. I have a disease section. I have a tea section for your full schedule, start to finish. Whatever you need, it's available on my website. If you can't find what you need, you can call me directly. I'm super accessible. I'm here for you. My whole life exists for you guys. So whatever you need, you just let me know. That's basically my whole message. I don't really get time to like get on social media and post. I'm not really good at that. I'm really, really busy. I have a family. I got 2 different businesses. It's tough. So I try my best. Eventually I'll hire a social media person. But if you could help, that's like the main thing. If you want to try it out and tell somebody, that'd be cool.
Yeah, go into the store, ask your local store for it, and check him out, guys. So let's go ahead and actually, I want to say my Patreon. So it's just Chad Westport on Patreon. I'm going to be closing the doors in 1 week on February 1st. I'm going to cut off the enrollment. People who are in there for the paid tiers, there's special perks that come with them. We just did a tester release. We did a vault item release, and some of these vault items are extremely limited. So different tiers have different priorities, but I'm going to close that off February 1st to ensure everybody that has signed up gets the best of what I have to offer. So if you guys wanted to jump in, wanted to get some of the unreleased stuff, some of the tester stuff, again, we're coming up on November when these things will not be able to get out anymore. So I'm kind of clearing the vault and making sure people get the opportunity to win things. I also do a special Patreon live, which we'll be doing next Saturday. Also the different tiers. I have my seed collection. I do a drawing every month, pulling from my personal seed collection to give to you because I want to see some of these things grown. I have a ton of awesome genetics, but I don't have enough space or time to grow them before they should be grown. So that's why I like to get those out. So yeah, Chad Westport on Patreon, guys. If you want to join for free. You get all the education for free. That's always going to be free, but there's perks. That's closing. That perks part is closing here at the end of the week. ChadWestport.com. That's where you will find No Joke. I am actually running low on this. Someone had asked here, it says, Chad, where in Europe can we buy your seeds? It has been the Daga.garden website. I restocked them last week. It sold out already. I have about 40 packs left of No Joke, guys. I've got about 40 left. There are new ones coming, but they won't be here till April. So if you wanted to get in on that, especially this year for the outdoor planting season, now would be the time. ChadWestport.com is where you find the No Joke, but I always like to give some out on the show too. So that's why I do it. But thank you for the question about Europe. Daga.garden website is the only place to internationally score my stuff.
Nice.
But I need to restock them. It's good to have that, but I need to restock them again because they went real fast. All right, let's go ahead and do this drawing. I think that's all the news that people need to know. Closing the Patreon, running low on No Joke. Yeah, I do a whole bunch of things, guys. You all are awesome. You already know the deal. Let's go ahead and give this last pack away. Good luck, everybody. And if you are the winner, just hit me up on Instagram, or better yet, go to my website, get the email there, send me an email, and I will get these things out to you. Baker B Bake Shop. It's rigged. No, it's not. Congratulations, dude.
Congrats.
Yeah, Baker B Bake Shop. I just want to let all of, I want to let the winners from last week know that I should be getting the beans from Brandon, I think, on Monday. So everybody who won on last week's show, we're just waiting for that to get to me, and then I can send them all out to you. So you guys will probably see tracking numbers beginning middle of the week this week for last week's winners. This week's winners, get a hold of me. I will also get your information over to Dennis, and we will make sure that all the prizes get out. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for hanging out. I definitely appreciate it. And Dennis, dude, thank you so much for coming in, hanging out, taking time out of your day. Appreciate it.
Thanks, buddy. It's nice to finally get a chance to do this with you. And it's
It
been
is.
great. You grow and develop yourself into this community, man. It's been great. So I can't wait to be back on the show and all that. And I really appreciate everybody that tuned in and everybody that will watch this. I sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate your time. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it was rad to, face-to-face talk with you. We've talked many times. We've collaborated on some cool projects, and I'm excited for the future. So I appreciate you, man. And appreciate all of you in chat. I hope you guys all have a good day. Again, stay warm, stay safe, and smile at a stranger. You never know what effect you can have on others. So peace out, everybody. Have a great day.
Fuck you, Westport!